think of the verdict, Al?
I sentence you to prison for murdering him for the rest of your natural life. And I know you have to see Paul and Maggie during the night times when you're attempting to go to sleep.
Breaking at 6, we are getting our first look at convicted murderer Alex Murdaugh after being booked into the Kirkland Correctional Institution. That's off Broad River Road in Columbia. His booking photo was posted on Twitter just moments ago by the South Carolina Department of Corrections. We continue our live team coverage in Walterboro and Colleton County. Greg Adeline, Nick Neville have been there since day one. Judy Gatson also joining them. Guys?
Dondi, that photo coming in, a lot of people already talking about it on Twitter after Judge Newman handed down that sentence early today. And Greg, in the courtroom, Alex Murdaugh, not once but twice, stood in front of Judge Newman and still insisted that he did nothing to harm his wife or his son. Judge Newman responded, said, maybe it wasn't you, but the monster you have become.
Yeah, and it really made no difference. 2 consecutive life sentences for Alex Murdaugh for these murders. That whole trial began about 6 weeks ago, and it ends today. Alex Murdaugh, again, will spend the rest of his life behind bars. Judge Newman, really an impassioned remarks that he made throughout this entire sentencing. And Judy, I know you spoke with the Attorney General, because really you have to give a hat tip to him in many ways. Him and his team put together a very solid case, and ultimately they were vindicated. With the verdict yesterday and with the sentencing today, vindicated in many ways. And we're going to hear from Attorney General Alan Wilson in just a short time from now. But one of the key witnesses that Alan Wilson, in fact, questioned on the witness stand to wrap up rebuttal was Ken Kenzie. And you could argue that he really kind of sealed the deal for any of those jurors, perhaps, who were on the fence about at least what was a 2-shooter theory that the defense put forward. That was something that the defense laid out in the end of their argument. And what the state was able to do in rebuttal is they put up Ken Kenzie, who was able to show shot trajectories and was able to show in a very clean way how this all happened, and it was very convincing. You could have called him the king of the dowel rod in many ways, because he showed exactly where these shots came from, and he had a way with jurors that was just incredibly effective. And we saw him today after the sentence came down, and he was able to talk to us just about how he was able to play a vital role here in this trial and how he was able to connect with jurors. And in fact, all of it was just in the manner in which he was able to present himself in court. Take a listen.
Believe it or not, I try to be Andy Griffith with a crime scene background. It works. It's worked for 22 years. And this was validation with my family and friends, not my coworkers. But when you miss Thanksgiving and you miss Christmas and they get the picture that you're sitting there taking a report or doing something, they don't really understand. So it's been really, really validating for me. But I will show, and I've got mad respect for these attorneys, I will show just enough teeth that they know I can bite. And then I just want to be nice. And if they're mean, I just want to be nice. And I have been known to ask them if I could come down and give them a hug. And that will usually, it's not that I'm making light of a very, very bad situation, but some of the little things that jump out of my mouth sometimes is just kind of giving them a warning.
Yeah, that plain-spoken way, tying up those loose ends, the Attorney General questioning him at the end, all of it came together and earned a conviction, Nick.
Yes, that's right, Greg. And another one of the key moments during sentencing today that we want to talk about, Judge Newman basically in response to Murdaugh saying that he didn't do it, Newman said, well, maybe it wasn't you. He said, maybe it was the monster you become, talking about after you take those 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 pills, as Murdaugh said. He also referenced a key moment that we heard during the trial when Murdaugh, who became really sort of the star witness here, took the stand last week, Thursday and Friday. He was on the stand for 7 hours and under questioning from Jim Griffin about that key piece of evidence, that key lie, that he was never at the family dog kennels. Jim Griffin asked him, he said, why did you continue to lie about that? And Murdaugh's response from the stand was, oh, what a tangled web we weave. And Newman asked him about that, turned it on its head, and asked him about it today. And Murdaugh responded and said, basically, when I lie, I had to continue to lie. And Newman's response was, well, when is it going to end?
Right.
Yes.
Because it ended pretty definitively for that jury. Now, we also heard from several people who have been other victims of Murdaugh's crimes, including the Satterfield family who testified during this trial. Gloria Satterfield was the family housekeeper. We heard from the family Satterfield attorney, Eric Bland, today, and they had actually received a confession of judgment, some financial sum of money from the Murdaugh family in regards to that lawsuit. But we heard from Tony Satterfield during the trial, testifying basically to the fact that Murdaugh lied to him several times, speaking to that, feeling really that Murdaugh could lie convincingly to juries, to people he loved, to people that were close to him. And when we spoke with Eric Bland at the beginning of this trial, he talked about how jury selection, really during opening statements, juries often make up their minds 80% of the time during opening statements. And he said today that basically it was a win for justice. Let's take a listen to what Eric Bland told us.
To apologize. He never used the word apologize last week to his clients. He could have apologized to his clients and said, I am very sorry for not watching out for your interest and taking your money and lying to you. But most importantly, he was looking for him to apologize to Buster. He was looking for him to say, Buster, I let you down as a father. And Alex was defiant to the end. And I think this judge not only showed it in the sentence with life without parole.
And also, of course, we heard from Attorney General Alan Wilson. We talked with him about what he thought ended up being the most compelling, critical element to secure the conviction of Alex Murdaugh. Take a listen.
I can't speak for every juror, but for me, I think, I'm looking at it and I think that was a death knell for him. Taking the stand kind of corroborated and confirmed what the jurors were already thinking and feeling about that kennel video. I mean, listen, remember this. He lied. Right? It was him versus Rogan. Rogan overheard him, and then he denied being in the background. And for months, no one knew. No one knew about this kennel video. But all of a sudden, the kennel video pops up. I ask people at home, ask yourselves, does he take the stand if that kennel video doesn't come out? No, he doesn't, because he had to continue living the lie. Look, it's a hard reach to get people to understand what would drive a man to brutally murder someone. The financial evidence certainly helps frame that issue of motive, but I believe the thousands of pieces of evidence, the tons of testimony that we were able to get into court basically would have convicted him on their own merits. But I think it was important for us to refute what the defense was saying about his motive and his state of mind the day that they were murdered.
We just want to remind you, we have talked to so many key players involved in this trial today. Our digital team is working as quickly as we can. We know we've been getting requests to see all of these interviews in their entirety. We will work to get that information posted. For now, I just have to say that this small town of Walterboro has become famous for all the wrong reasons. But if you have an opportunity to drive through here or visit this beautiful part of South Carolina, especially from those who are from out of town and don't know much about what life is like here in South Carolina, I can tell you, from the Colleton County Sheriff's Office to the people at the hotels, the gas stations, at every restaurant, they really represent the best of Southern hospitality and what our state is all about. So on behalf of our entire crew, Greg, Nick, all of the folks behind the scenes who have done an incredible job of standing up our coverage, we want to thank them as well. And thank you for always counting on WIS News 10. Back to the studio.
Judy, thank you so much. And we do want to thank you guys. Greg, you and Nick have been there for all 6 weeks of it. And we appreciate your long hours that you guys have put in to bring us all this coverage. Thanks to each one of you. And yes, Colleton County, beautiful part of our state.